As one of the largest investment companies in the world and the largest provider of mutual funds in the world, Vanguard is one of the most well-recognized and trusted places to help you invest your money into the stock market. But just like anything, when you're trying to get started, it can look really complicated, confusing, and pretty overwhelming too. So in this video, I wanted to take you through everything you need to know in order to get started investing using Vanguard in 2022 and beyond. I'll take you through the account setup process, explain the different types of account, look at all the different kinds of investments, explain what they are, and show you how you can take your first steps to get started investing, so you can really start to grow your wealth over the long term. In order to get started investing with Vanguard, you'll want to make sure you have all of your personal details to hand, including your national insurance number, as well as bank details and your debit card. Other than that, let's get straight into covering off all of the different account types to help you understand what the first step is that you'll need to take. The Vanguard platform can be accessed at vanguardinvestor.co.uk, and this is where you'll also be managing your money from. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description below so you can find the website pretty easily. You'll see under the What We Offer section that Vanguard have several different kinds of accounts depending on what you're actually looking for. The account types include, as you can see, stocks and shares ISA, a junior ISA, a general investing account, and a self-invested personal pension, also known as a SIPP. The stocks and shares ISA is probably where most people want to start, as this is a tax-free account that allows every UK adult aged 18 or over to invest up to £20,000 per tax year, with any capital gains or dividends being free of the taxman. If you have a stocks and shares ISA with another platform, then this is not a problem, but do remember that you can only contribute to one per tax year, but you can open multiple accounts, and it's actually what I do personally. If you want to open an account for a child, then you can also create a junior ISA, which provides up to £9,000 per tax year, which you can invest on behalf of your child, and when they turn 18, it will become their own stocks and shares ISA as an adult. Finally, the other two accounts are the general investing account and the SIPP. The general investing account is a taxable investing account, so any capital gains or dividends will be taxed above any allowances you might have left. And then finally, the self-invested personal pension is an account that lets you transfer old workplace pensions to Vanguard and then choose your own investments, or manage your own pension if, for example, you were self-employed and wanted to pay into your own pension as well as manage it yourself. I won't focus too much here talking about pensions and SIPPs, but remember that they're only accessible once you reach the prime old age of 57, but most likely this will probably increase with time. If this is your first ever investing account, then it will make sense to use a stocks and shares ISA, and I'll presume that we're using this account for the rest of the video. This is because in the long term, certainly over many years, we want to make sure that any gains we receive will be protected from the taxman so we get the maximum amount of money. Also, you're free to buy and sell at any point too. There are no age limits here. So now we've looked at the different accounts, it's nearly time to get an account open, but just before we do that, we will actually need to decide, firstly, what we're actually going to invest in, as this is actually one of the first steps we need to take in the account opening process. I'll walk you through all of the different options here so you can make your own decisions about what might be best for you to invest in. Remember, it's really important that you fully understand what you're investing in, so please do seek help from a financial advisor if you are not sure, as I'm certainly not one of those, and everything I'm explaining is just my own knowledge and my opinion based on what I currently do. Looking from the top then, if we go to the What We Offer part of the website and choose our full list of funds, then we get presented with 79 different options which we can invest in. Vanguard's investments are all collected into funds. You won't see any individual companies here, and this is not a platform where you invest into companies like Apple, Google, or Microsoft directly. All a fund is a collection of investments, which might include companies like Apple, Google, or Microsoft, but it could also include things like bonds or even other funds too. Funds can invest in other funds, and it can actually be as simple or as complicated as you like. Buying a fund or a group of companies at the same time, sometimes referred to an index fund, is one of the most effective ways to invest over the long term. This is because you get the benefit of having a diversified selection of investments. And this is extremely important in the exact same way as a balanced diet is important in your real life. Too much sugar and too much fat, and you'll end up looking like Santa. Having proper diversification means that you get protection in case certain companies fail or certain industries fall down. Just think back to the tech bubble of 2000 when the tech stocks were pushed up to insane prices, or even more recently in the financial crash of 2008, where the banking sector collapsed and brought lots of industries down with it. By being diversified, you protect yourself and limit the damage, benefiting from the overall trend in the market, which in the long term is more up than down and will increase as companies gain more profit and the market grows. Let's break this list down now though, and you'll soon have a much smaller set of funds that you'll probably want to actually get invested in. As you scroll down the selection of investments, you will see that they're broken down into sections. These sections are blended, which is 19 funds, equity, which has 34 funds, fixed income, which is 25, and a single money market fund. For this video, we won't look at fixed income or money market funds, as for investors getting started, choosing bonds manually is really not worth the effort in my opinion. So after removing those sections, this leaves us with blended funds and equity funds. Very simply, the blended funds are investments that have a mix of both bonds and equities, which basically means individual companies. And typically those are going to be some of the largest companies in the world that you can actually own shares in. Equity funds, on the other hand, are just a collection of different companies which are grouped together into collections or indexes. For example, they might be grouped together because they're all listed on the same exchange, like the FTSE 100 here in the UK, or they might be grouped together because they are based in the US. For a beginner, and in fact for almost every investor investing for the long term, one of our main objectives is to make sure that we have a well-diversified and balanced portfolio. In other words, a collection of stocks and shares from all over the world. How you choose which funds you want to get invested in is completely up to you, but my personal opinion would be to keep things as simple as possible, so you don't even have to think about it once you've got things started. And every month you invest into your account, just as you pay your rent, mortgage, or even car insurance. In fact, if you read some of the best advice from some of the world's best investors, including Warren Buffett himself, he would advise that most people invest consistently over a long period of time using a simple, low-cost index fund. Now, this is where blended funds come in, as they're pretty much a one-stop shop that have been put together by Vanguard to help you invest really easily. They include a mixture of stocks and bonds and will also rebalance for you as different companies grow more than others. Some of the most popular Vanguard funds which do exactly this are the Vanguard LifeStrategy range. You can now see them on screen now, and they include slightly different versions of the same fund depending on what percentage of stocks they contain when compared to bonds. So for example, as we can see on screen now, we have 5 versions of the LifeStrategy fund ranging from 20% equity to 100% equity. One of the most popular funds is the LifeStrategy 60%, which has 60% equities and 40% in bonds. Bonds can be a reliable way to grow your wealth over time, as so long as they're of high quality and issued by governments like the US and the UK, will provide you with a nearly guaranteed return. However, over time, bonds have not provided better returns than stocks, and stocks do come out on top over longer periods of time. As an example, let's say we have some bonds from the UK government. All they are is an IOU that they provide us for lending them some nice hard money. Let's say the government issued 1-year bonds with an interest rate of 2%, and then we invest £1,000 into this bond. It certainly sounds better than any savings rate you're probably getting in your bank right now. In 1 year's time, we'd get paid our £1,000 back, and with 2% on top, which is £20. Nothing too exciting, sorry, but still better than nothing. On the other hand, if we had invested our £1,000 into a company like Apple, for example, we might have got something more like 10%, meaning that we'd have £1,100 rather than £1,020. However, nothing is guaranteed, and we could have also lost money in Apple, but the bond would have still paid that 2%, regardless of whether Apple had a good year or not. So that's the kind of decision you have to make here. It's all down to your personal risk. As a rule of thumb though, the younger you are and the longer your timescales, most advice and general thoughts would say that you would choose more equities and less bonds, as they have shown over the longer term to be better investments. There are only small sections in history where bonds have beaten stocks or a blend of the two, and it could definitely happen again, but over those longer timescales, it's up to you. Those are the facts. So outside of the LifeStrategy, you also have other blended funds like Target Retirement and then the brand new Sustainable Life funds, which I did a video about recently, which you can take a look at afterwards. To look into these funds and what they contain, feel free to do your own research. You can find out information on what the funds hold, how they've performed and what costs will be by going through the different tabs here on the website, just like I'm doing on screen now. Outside of the blended funds, let's have a look at the equity section now. If the blended section was a one-stop shop, all done for you, this section is more like a pick and mix where you have to do it all yourself and you can build a portfolio that's completely tailored to whatever your goals you might actually have individually. I won't go into all the different funds in this video, but let me give you a couple of solid options here for beginners, which will give you a great start, and I'll also let you know what I'm personally invested in. If I wanted to just hold a single fund that covered a lot of the world and gave me a well-diversified portfolio, I'd probably choose one of these two. The FTSE All World UCITS ETF or the FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund. There are some slight differences. One is an ETF and one is a fund, and they do have some slight other differences as well, which I will leave you to have a look into yourself. But broadly speaking, being invested across most of the world, including some of the biggest companies in the world, will provide you with a great place to start to getting your fair share of the world's growth. For my own stocks and shares ISA on Vanguard, I have a pretty simple portfolio. I invest in the S&P 500 and emerging markets with a split of 85% to the S&P 500 and 15% in the emerging markets. If you are interested, you can watch me invest in that portfolio in another one of my videos, which I will leave in a link in the description below. I'll also be doing regular updates on that one too, so you can track the performance alongside me. But feel free to invest in what works for you. Now on to how much this will cost and what the fees are for investing. This is one of the most important aspects about investing in the long term. And a small difference in fees can add up over time, taking away thousands and even hundreds of thousands away from your pocket. Firstly, let's just remind ourselves that investing into any of these funds will require either a regular monthly investment of £100 or a one-off cost of £500. Of course, you can mix and match the two, but that is the minimum requirement. For example, you could invest £1,000 as a one-off payment and then have a direct debit set up to invest, say, £200 every month or something similar. There are no fees to open an account or to hold cash in the account, but there are account management fees to be aware of. The two kinds of fees you need to be aware of are those fund management costs and the account fees themselves. Fund management costs are clearly shown on the cost section of the fund that you want to get invested in. For example, the LifeStrategy has an ongoing cost of 0.22%. This means that every year you will lose 0.22% of the value of your holding, as it's automatically removed from the value of the fund. For example, let's say you've got £10,000 invested for 1 year and that fund grows 10%. Your return on that fund would actually be 9.78% for the year. On top of this fee, you can then have the overall account fee, which for Vanguard is 0.15% per year. This is capped at £375 per year though, so if you are lucky enough to get £250,000 one day, you won't pay any more than this per year. This fee, unlike the other fund fee, is taken as cash, and you can pay this in two different ways. You can either have cash in your account for this to be ready for the bill, or you can pay using direct debit. Personally, I like using direct debit, otherwise I may not have much cash in the account to cover the bill and I'll risk some of my fund being sold to pay for it. It's really simple to set up and I'll show you now in the account section here. In total then, to work out your total cost, follow this formula on the website here, but do know that Vanguard is probably one of the most cost-effective platforms on the market here in the UK and around the world, and they're known for reducing their costs where they can rather than going the other way. And as I said earlier, fees in the long run are really important. Don't forget that when comparing them to other platforms. Moving on to how to manage your investments once you're started, everything is done through the website in your account section. There's no fancy app here in the UK. This might be something they release in the future, but it's easy enough to find out all of the information you need. When you're in your account, you can see your current returns. That's how much your investments are worth now, which of course will change every day as the prices of stocks go up and down. As a long-term investor, it's important to know that investments can go up as well as go down, so do not be surprised to see negative numbers here, especially in the shorter term. Over the years, compounding and your contributions will allow you to create a great overall portfolio. There are so many stories of people who've been investing for really long amounts of time, who earn very average amounts of money, yet have amassed huge fortunes from just sticking with it. And that's probably the most important thing. If you want any further details, you can dig around in your account section, see where your investments are, which companies are held, for example, and all of the points at which you have purchased your fund as you invest every month as an example. You can of course always sell your funds too whenever you need. Once you initiate a sell order, you'll get the cash once the trade settles, and then you can withdraw the money into your bank account simply enough. But hopefully in an ideal world, you won't need to sell any of your investments until you actually need them, whether that be for an early retirement, helping your kids, or even a more comfortable future for yourself. To see further details on how to open an account in more detail step-by-step live, please see my video, which I'll link below, where I open my stocks and shares ISA on the Vanguard platform and invest £10,000 of my own money into my stocks and shares ISA. Also, if you want a better look at some of the other funds in more detail, I've also done videos on this topic too. See my Vanguard UK playlist on my channel. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below and I'd love to hear from you. For now, that's everything in this video. I really hope you found the video useful. Please drop me a big fat like if you have. Subscribe for more if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, happy investing.